Today's video is just going to be a blog video about a couple things I'm working on. The season's changing, so I got to figure out what I'm going to do with this channel again. You know, do off-grid or lawnmowers or whatever. So as you may remember, I was working on this lawnmower. We got it up and running. We got a for sale sign on it. I got it up. So one of the things that was wrong with it was the spindle thing that turns, you know, the housing that holds the blade up underneath it had a broken wing on it. So I welded it and it held. I know it did. It looked good. So I test drove it, came back, put it on the lift, and I shook the bar and did different things to the bar. Viewers, 3 to be specific, noticed there was a problem with it after I mowed. The first one was my father, so I couldn't just call him a troll. So once you get it onto a big screen, bigger than what I got, and you put it in slow motion, you can easily see that. Here you will see in this video that when I lifted up on it, there was a little bit of flexing going on. There was only 2 seconds worth of footage, and it was pretty obvious once you saw it. So I am going to have to repair it. And then I had 2 other people later that evening say the same thing, and I said, yeah, I'll check it out. So I'm going to do one more little trick that I saw on YouTube, and the guy who caught it first agreed with me that I'm going to try JB Weld. It's $6 to get some JB Weld. I'm going to test it again, and I will record it and put it on the big screen, my laptop. I say big screen. It was bigger than what I was editing on. Editing the window is just, you know, just real small. So I'll put it on the screen, I'll slow it down, and I'll see if I see any flexing once the JB Weld dries. If that doesn't work, then I'll just go ahead and buy the part. I'm just trying to save cost. And I would rather test these things now on my mowers before I get them sold than on a customer's mower. Customers do look for cheap fixes. And if I can figure out a way to fix it, then without having to replace a spindle, some customers may want that option. I can offer to them, oh, I don't want to spend a lot of money. Well, I can get a $6 tube of JB Weld and we can try that. Yeah, let's try that. And if it works, that's great. If not, then you're up 30-40 bucks in parts and an hour's worth of labor and all that stuff. And JB Weld, that might be something they can do on their own. What I will say about this is the little 2 seconds of flexing that you saw wasn't near as bad as before I welded it. 2 things about that weld is I welded a stick weld to aluminum. That's not easy to do, and I'm kind of proud that I did it. You know, I'm not a good welder. I'm still learning. I mean, I've not done it very long. I'm not even trying to claim that I'm a welder. I'm trying to learn because I'm going to need that skill at least a little bit. And to have welded aluminum, it may have not held, but I did. If you think about learning in steps, my first step was I had to get the weld to stick to the aluminum without melting the aluminum. I accomplished that. So the next step would be to try it again, maybe on another mower I buy, and see if I can get it to work better. I did learn some lessons on it, so might do better the next time. And that's also the point of the JB Weld, is I'm trying to learn to see if it's going to work. Now, the other mower I got is the John Deere. It's a 1989-ish lawnmower, and it's got 12.5 horsepower Kohler engine, and it's in relatively good shape. The wiring was pretty much all stripped out of it, so I had to work around all that wiring issue. So I put a starter switch in it, I put a new carburetor in it, I changed the oil, and I put a new spindle. Ignore the boxes. I'm collecting the boxes just in case somebody wants to say, hey, you got trash all over your yard. The boxes are nice to put parts into when I'm working on when I tear apart something like a chainsaw, and I know I'm not going to be able to return to the job for a week or so because I'm ordering parts. I can put everything in the box, tape it up, and label the box, and I don't lose anything. But anyway, I had to replace some bearings in the spindle on this, I also had to weld this bar on. You may remember here, I'm showing you right now, that this bar was missing, and I put this extension on it, welded it, and made it nice, and I'm really proud of that. I had to fix this hole. It's not completely fixed yet. I got lots to do. I'm going to Bondo that. Again, I learned what I needed to do that correctly. And what actually, instead of using all these welding rods, it would have been cheaper in the first place just to use Bondo. The welding rods are 20 bucks a package, and I used half a package doing this. I could use an entire package, so that would have been 20 bucks for this repair, or I could have just used 1 or 2 sticks, put the back on it like I did in the first place, used Bondo, which is like 15 bucks a jar, and I just used a little bit. So got the spindle. Let's see, it must not be this one. Yeah, the spindle over there has been replaced, the bearings. So this one's coming along pretty nicely. So right now I'm working on repainting the lawnmower, and I'm getting pretty close to getting it all sanded up to the way I want it. Now I'm not going to completely sand everything, pretty much. I'm not going to sand this, even though it's got a couple wear spots on this. I think I can touch that up and it'll look okay and get it cleaned up. But I've been using a wire wheel brush on my drill. This right here, so it's just a battery operated drill, and I usually run 1 battery down a day, sanding everything, brushing everything, and getting the paint off of it. So you can see here, all the paint's gone. This is just dust. That's paint dust right there. But it's pretty rusty, and I still got the center console to do, and that foot pad over there, and then I got the outer edge to do around here, and then we'll have it all sanded off. So maybe another 2-3 days worth of work, and that'll be done. And then I'll wash it with the pressure washer. I'll get some acetone, clean up all the well, actually I have to sand it before I do that. I have to hand sand all the rust. I also have to smooth out like this edge here. If I don't remove that, which I won't along here, I will here, but not here, I'll have to sand. I gotta watch out for that wasp. I gotta sand all that to get it smooth. That's pretty rough, and that'll show up in your paint. So we'll, you kind of feather it is what's called. Feather it out so it's nice and smooth. And transition, you won't feel that transition. So that won't take but maybe a day or two to sand it. I say a day, I'm talking about, an hour's worth of work each day. And then I'll primer it. I got 2 cans of primer, Rust-Oleum, for automotive. So I'll acetone, I'll wash everything with pressure washer, acetone everything, and then I'll primer it. And then I take 600 grit sandpaper, or 800, I forget what I got. I think 600. I think you can even use 400. And you wet sand it. And what you're doing is you're scuffing the primer. And you get that where it's scuffed up, and then you can take your regular paint and paint over that primer. So I got Farm Implement JD Green. So hopefully that'll match. And the thing is I don't think it's going to be noticeable if it doesn't completely match, because for example, this will be pretty much underneath the hood, which is plastic. I'm not painting the plastic, so you won't really notice that until you open it up. And this will be a kind of a transition from one color, one panel to another, so you may not even notice that. Okay, so I put the hood back on, and those scratches are still noticeable. So I think what I'm going to do, I know I've said several things here, is I'm going to wash it up, and then I'm going to test it with a pen, with a paint pen. And if it covers up okay, then I may just leave it alone. If it doesn't, then I'll go ahead and, when I use the 600 grit sandpaper on the primer, I'll do this panel as well. Just this panel. There's no reason to do the whole thing. I think for the most part it looks okay. I don't know, there's just a lot of scratches on that. I keep going back and forth. We'll see after I get it washed up, I guess is the best thing to say. I guess I'm really kind of actually leaning towards sanding it. And then the front, you can see that the rust is pretty bad here. And then maybe, I don't know if I can use that pen on this. We'll see. I mean, there's just going to be some things that it's not going to completely fix. I can't fix the plastic. I can't paint it. I don't know how to paint it. I worked for a auto body. Well, I didn't work for him. He was my father-in-law, actually, and he taught me a lot in the short time I had worked with him. But I don't know everything. I don't claim to. So I don't know if you would treat that the same way. I might be able to just take the paint after I get it cleaned up and just kind of touch it up. We'll see. I don't know if that's scratches or transfer. Regardless, I think it's going to look a lot better than it does right now. So that is almost finished. And then the seat, I've got a seat over here. It's not in much better shape on a mower that we purchased for 40 bucks. And I've been stealing parts off of. It's already paid for itself. I mean, the tires themselves are $40 and they're brand new tires. So this seat I'll take off of it. Now, like I said, it's not much better, but I should be able to reattach the seat to the body here. And then I'm going to buy a yellow cover. I'm going to buy yellow covers to cover it up. I'll take this off of here, put it over there on that deck over there. The tires on this are fairly new, the back tires. The front tires are a little bit worn because the alignment was off, but it still has some traction. So I'm going to leave that alone. I'm not too worried about that. And then there's a dust cover missing on this side for the hubcap. That's missing, so I'll have to replace that. And when I ordered them, they didn't have any of the old original dust caps like they used to have. These plastic ones, they're all rubber now. These are plastic and they're shaped different, but I don't think that'll be too noticeable. Before, it runs fantastic. I really do like it. The neat thing about this lawnmower is, if you've ever driven a Farmall, one of those old Farmalls, you're always at risk of crashing it because it's hard to steer. And I drove one an entire summer. You know, I was using the sickle bar mower on it to cut hay. And it's floppy steering. The gears are hard to get into. The clutch is loose. The brakes are, you know, questionable. And this kind of drives the same way. It's just an old 1989 John Deere. The steering's a bit loose and hard to turn, and I really like it. Somebody said they would buy it off me right now from the comment section, as is. Because he wants to use it to drive around his place, pulling hay bales and different things. That would be perfect for this thing. You know, it is getting old, so to run that lawnmower is going to be kind of tough. Now, the neat thing about the lawnmower is it's electric start. So you just flip that switch and it'll start mowing. So it's got a bigger alternator on it than most, not alternator, yeah, magneto, whatever you want to call them, generator. I think it's an alternator though. So it's got a bigger one. Instead of the usual 6 amps that a lawnmower has, it's probably got 12 or 15 amps. So you could even kind of use it for a generator to charge your batteries. So you can turn it on, hook battery cables up to your battery, and maybe charge your battery on your car or something. It would take a couple hours, but you could do it. As far as mowing, it will mow, but it mows like an old-time lawnmower. I really like it, and I hate to sell it. This has been a fun project. We picked it up for hardly nothing. It's got a new starter on it, new back tires, so I mean, he's put a lot of money into it. He did not get out what he put into it. Or, you know, he didn't get paid what he put into it. And yeah, I put a lot of work into it, but not a lot of parts. So somebody said, you're losing money. I am losing labor money, you're right. But what I think about is, I'm not busy right now. The business is slowed down, it's off season. So making some money is better than nothing. And I'm not working on it very hard, an hour a day, you know, sanding it down or whatever. It's not a lot of hard work. So if you'll click this up next box, it'll take you to a video where I was working on that spindle for this mower. So if I can inspire you to have a fun project when you're living your dreams. Thanks for watching.